Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to JT Picks, and today we're going to be having another double review. By the way, I'm a little sick, so if I talk weird throughout this video, it's because I had a sore throat, and yeah, so I'm gonna hustle through though because I know I owe you guys a lot of videos. So on October 28th, I thought we were just getting one album for CHH, which was Zauntee's The Stonebrook project, but instead we got that and Henrik's. And although Henrik's album I wouldn't necessarily classify CHH, even though he is technically a CHH artist, he also does a lot of punk music, and this album was a punk album, which was a pleasant surprise. First, the Stonebrook project. Zauntee's highly anticipated album after his 334 compilation, which I thought that compilation was good. It was solid, nothing amazing and nothing great either. And unfortunately, there are similar feelings to Stonebrook project. There's really only one song that to me is like the greatest Zauntee track that he has ever released. The rest of the tracks, however, range from either okay to good to maybe even a few greats here and there. But overall, what kills this project is consistency. You've probably heard me use that term quite a few times before, but it is one of the most important aspects of an album. It's consistency. If it can provide the same amount of quality and enjoyment on every single track, rather than just one really good quality track and then the next one feeling not so much. So we have a decent amount of quality here. On the enjoyable part though, it varies. The final track, Your Presence in This Place, I believe it's called, 14 minutes long. I don't want to listen to a 14-minute long song unless it's like really good. And I've already mentioned before, I believe I have, really good long songs. And the list is not big. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody, which is like 6 minutes long. Runaway by Kanye West, which is the only song near 10 minutes that just, it doesn't feel like it's near 10 minutes because it's so good and it keeps me engaged the whole time. And sometimes Gyra by Maverick City Music and Elevation Worship. And that's it. That's the list. I'm sure there are a few more nice long songs that I could add, but they're not coming to my mind right now. But that's just to prove the point that it's not easy to make good, engaging, long songs. It's definitely a challenge. Zauntee is not an artist that I would say can engage a listener for 14 minutes, especially when the intention behind this 14-minute song is not to entertain, which in my opinion is the point of a song, but rather to evangelize, which is again, it's a good thing. But when that takes the precedent in music, it detracts from its value, in my opinion. The last 5 minutes of the song are about the sinner's prayer and whatnot. And so it's like, okay, I get the point of the track, but maybe you should have put this on an extra track, you know, separate these two songs and just have the transition be super seamless, maybe, because now it's like, I'm going to want to get to like 9 minutes of this song and then skip, because I don't want to hear the rest of 5 minutes. I've heard the sinner's prayer a million times. And that's a great thing. I love it, but I also have to judge this from a standpoint of the listener, someone who's been a Christian, someone who's not. If someone hasn't and they're touched by this, I'm happy, I'm overjoyed, but it's not exactly something that I personally would listen to, and it does detract from the finale of the album for me. Another thing that detracts from the album is, I have said it before, I hate IIOs, the interludes and outros and whatnot, and this album has an outro that is literally 2 minutes long of just someone talking. I get the point of it. It sets up the track before, so it kind of hits one of my things for IIOs, which it must at least validate the track that comes after it, and it must prove its own existence, right? And it does, but it's still 2 minutes. Oh gosh, do the same thing, just put it in 40 seconds or 30 seconds. I would have been so much happier, but 2 minutes, it just means that I'm gonna erase this song from my library and never revisit it again because I don't want to. So yeah, we got those unnecessary things for me. That, like the final song was 14 minutes and the outro. But what else does not work with this album? There are things here that just don't feel right. Like, there is the chance that I will listen to it here and not listen to it there. For example, like our Rocks Cry Out. I like the hook for it. It's memorable, but a lot of the times it feels like Zauntee's just, he's pushing and pushing and pushing for the sound, and it's like, it's not working. Like, he starts screaming, I'll let the rocks cry out, they'll be crying now. Like, that's a really good hook. It's really memorable. I'm happy for that. But then at the same time, he starts like almost like, wow, let the rocks cry. His voice gets so raspy, and it kind of turns me off from wanting to listen to the track. Also, on top of that, there's the beat, which I feel like it doesn't really go with the vocals that much. There's My Soul, which I'm also not a big fan of, which seems to try to mix Zauntee with Afro pop, and it doesn't work. It doesn't feel right to me. You do have good songs here, like a lot of the singles, especially Back From The Dead, which was amazing. I love Back From The Dead. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Then God On My Side. One really good thing about God On My Side is I liked it originally. I liked how it felt like a hype song. I thought Benaya did a really good job on his verse. He killed it, and I really like the outro of that song, but I guess I like it more now because the intro track, Let Your Fire Fall, while that track itself is not the best type of intro, it validates itself by having a sound play from God Is On My Side throughout. So it lets this little sonic kind of this little thing of like strings playing the plays throughout Let Your Fire Fall, and it fits really nicely. Once it transitions into God Is On My Side, you're like, oh, that's why that's there. That's really nice. So that was good. There are a few more highlights to this album, like Soldier in the Storm, which I thought was really nice. I don't know if this was the point, but it felt like a nod to Pop Smoke, not only because the feature sounded very Pop Smoke like, but because the beat was drill. I also I forgot the name of it, Guide My Hand, and that's it. Once again, I do not know if this was intentional, but it felt like a very lighthearted, almost fun track. I kind of liked it. It felt like a TikTok song. I thought that was great. There are obviously songs on here that will continue to grow on me, like Move Me, which I didn't like too much at first, and then after a few days, the chorus kind of got stuck in my head, and I was caught myself singing, Move me out of my way. I'm lost in the pain that I've been causing myself because I didn't want your help. See, if I can sit right here and recall an entire hook, that's good. Because if I can do that, then it means that your hook has stuck with me. It's memorable. So with all that said, I think that this album gets a 6.5. I was really wrestling with myself on this one because one part of me was like, nah, I can't say that this is worse than 334, and then I was like, well, 334 is a shorter album, and yeah, even though it has some pretty not great songs on it like Trust or Glory, I think that just the fact that this album kind of has such high points like Back From The Dead and then such low points like The Dad's Outro, which I think The Dad's Outro is what hurt this album the most. This almost reached 7. Now we move on to what was the surprise album for me, which was Poster Child by Henrik. This album really just came out of nowhere. Henrik dropped the single Talk to Jesus, and that one was good, but I didn't feel it as much as I feel it now. I'll explain that in a bit. And then a week after dropping Talk to Jesus, he announced on Instagram that he's dropping a whole album, and I was like, oh, cool, because I like Henrik. I like his first I Get Lonely Sometimes EP. I thought it was a great EP, and I can't wait for more Henrik stuff. And so when this album dropped, I was just like, oh wow, he gave us an album. I wonder what it's gonna sound like, because in the I Get Lonely Sometimes, the IGLS album, he gave us this punk leaning more towards hip-hop sound. And so I was like, which one is he gonna give us? Because he's always been in between these crossroads of hip-hop and punk, and so which one was he gonna lean towards? And Talk to Jesus leaned 100% towards alternative, aka punk. So after a week of Poster Child's release, I listened to Talk to Jesus more and more and more and more and more and more, and now it's like one of my favorite songs. Seriously, the chorus, it's unbelievably emotional, a strong, amazing story of a song. And yeah, I just, especially the last 10 seconds when it gets into punk and then it changes to I need to talk to Jesus instead of I didn't talk to Jesus, like my mind is blown every time I hear that. And if you think that album's highlights stop there, you would be wrong, because you get stuff like Dig My Grave. The whole album definitely leaned towards punk rather than hip-hop, but Dig My Grave was one of the tracks on it that leaned towards hip-hop, and it did a great job of it. Lodge and Geo, like You Blew Me Away, extremely catchy. Every single track is at least good. When I was ranking the album, you know, I grab my paper, I list the number of tracks, and then I give each track a score out of 10. And so for this album, it's like track 1, 7.5, because I really like the hook. Track 2, 7.5, because I really like the lyrics of it, but it's not really speaking to me. Track 3, which is Talk to Jesus, 9.5. Emotional, great, but it's not perfection, but it's near there. Track 4, 7. Track 5, which was an interlude, I believe, 7. Track 6, you know, the lowest this album got was a 7 in each track. You heard me. So you have nothing lower than 7. Even the interludes in this, the Brother in Christ skit, which I appreciate that. He didn't do interludes, he did skits. There is a difference. With a skit, you know what you're getting. It may feel somewhat useless, but at least you know that it's a skit, and that its point was that this isn't like super valuable to the album. It's just to slightly enhance the experience. So I can deal with that. And there were like 3 or 4 skits, but all of them ran under at most 40 seconds. The Brother in Christ skit was the best one, by the way. You did just listen to it, trust me. I also wanted to talk about the final track, Parable of the Sun, when the whole, not choir, but gang comes in and starts going, oh, which is just the most gorgeous and goosebump inducing thing I've ever heard. There's a lot of lyrical highlights to this album, sonic highlights, just a lot of great moments that caught me off guard. I was not ready to hear such greatness. And for all those reasons, I'm gonna have to just straight up give this album an 8 out of 10. Very strong. It's great. I will be listening to it in the future. Dealbreaker, comparaSIN, Talk to Jesus, Get a Life, Dig My Grave, Parable of the Sun, Poster Child. Those are the tracks that I will probably revisit the most. But I'll once in a while I'll play the whole thing. Just let the whole thing go through. Remember, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to reach 500 subs by the end of the year, and I'm at 318. It'll take a miracle, but I believe that we can do it, and God can do it. Church Close 4 review is coming in a bit. During the making of this video, Church Close 4 has been out for like a week, and it's pretty good, so yeah, we'll talk about that. See you guys next time.